Hi there, my name is Laurie Finney and I'm a species at risk biologist at the Tobeatic Research Institute. Today I want to share with you a little bit about the work I've been doing with MTRI, our partners, and of course a lot of help from volunteers to learn more about where the Eastern Ribbonsnake lives during the winter. So if you head over to the left-hand panel, you get a little background information on where we're at with Eastern Ribbonsnakes. So we know a lot about where they like to spend the summer, but we kind of have this knowledge gap where we don't know where they spend the winter. And that's because snakes are really hard to find during the winter. They tend to go underground and kind of hibernate for the winter. And so a lot of our effort is through visual surveys. And so this can take a lot of time and having to cover a lot of ground. And so what's really benefited snake research in Nova Scotia on Eastern Ribbonsnakes is the development of a technique that allows us to radio track them. And what we found was just simply using duct tape would allow us to put this transmitter onto the body of the snake and then follow its movements day to day. And so this is built on a lot of background work of testing a lot of methods that didn't end up working out or weren't very user-friendly or great for the snake. So with the success of that, which was completed between 2018 and 2020, we're proud to say that we have tested this method and we're now able to move forward with it and learn more about where they actually spend the winter. A lot of this effort has been concentrated in Kejimkujik National Park. And so our ultimate goal now is to use some of this tracking data that is completed through this work and kind of expand our sites to learn more about what we can say where these snakes like to be during the winter. And so ultimately our goal is to kind of be able to characterize their overwintering habitat and potentially use that for management recommendations in the future. Heading over to the methods in the middle panel, our survey effort was concentrated at sites where we knew they had been sighted previously during the summer. And so that would make it easier for us to potentially find them again, kind of as we transition from spring season into summer or from summer into fall. And so we're kind of looking for these shoulder seasons to identify overwintering habitat and then find snakes there during them. And to make it a little bit easier, we started off with places where we knew they already were. We also were looking for sites that were easy to get to so that it was something we could realistically do day to day. When we radio track, we're checking on the snakes every day just to ensure their well-being and also get really good data on their movements. So once we found a snake at a good site that was accessible and potentially looked like a good site to radio track and kind of learn more about these snakes, we would then attach a transmitter on them using this duct tape. So you can kind of see this middle panel of 3 photos to see what that looks like. And so from all the snakes that we've tracked, from 2018 up until 2021, we have been doing tracking actually this fall season. So we have some neat stories from that, some really cool observations, but this poster doesn't include data from that. But of the snakes we've tracked before 2022, we were able to take 27, we were able to track 27 individuals, and from those, we think about 7 of them went to spots that we're going to assume were hibernacula. And so with those 7 individuals, we then took that data and used Nova Scotia topographic database, used the database to do a GIS exercise and kind of identify some of the attributes of the habitat they were at. So shifting kind of over to the right-hand panel to show you what that looked like. So of the 7 individual snakes that we thought probably went to overwintering sites, of course, keep in mind this title's preliminary data, so we still have a lot to learn and more individuals to track to see if this kind of stands up and is a trend that we see at a variety of sites. We found that they like to be close to water, so up to 250 meters from the water body. And the spots they like to be in particular tended to be white pine or intolerant hardwoods. And at those spots, there might have been a slight elevation, but definitely well-drained soil, wasn't wet soil, as where we tend to find them during the summer. Kind of in the summertime can be quite wet and soggy near wetlands and bogs and shorelines. And some of the spots they were selecting tended to be a south slope, so that was also kind of an interesting observation, and kind of taller, mid to tall trees. But of course, sometimes we are seeing snakes here near young white pines as well. So that's kind of a quick summary of what we found, what kind of features. I even have a picture here on the bottom right-hand panel showing a little snake coming out of a hole. Of course, it probably looks like a blade of grass in the hole, but that was one of the snakes we were radio tracking, so that was neat to observe. And so the kind of takeaway from this is this technique is now allowing us to learn new things about this snake and hopefully kind of come up with really good set of management practices, we get a higher number of individuals to contribute to this data set and then continue kind of a more detailed exercise using some of these provincial layers that are available, such as Nova Scotia LiDAR kind of gives us a lot more information to pull from compared to other layers. And so we hope to expand this in the future to cover a variety of site types and areas, and we've been currently working on that as I was putting this poster together. There's some neat findings that we have. And we've also done some sites outside the park that are really interesting. We looked at a quarry, we looked at a couple of lakes, really neat things to see this year. So anyway, I'll wrap up today. Thanks for coming and participating in the showcase. Much appreciated, and hope you really enjoyed it, and enjoy the other talks.